Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for your first of two, maybe three videos today. The transfer season is always, weirdly, the busiest time for the channel, so make sure you're subscribed. And if you've not yet joined the Telegram, it is at the top link in the description. There's going to be giveaways coming throughout the summer, as well as Chelsea partnered with Go Markets recently, and Go Markets partnered with me. There's quite a few of you already signed up, and as far as I'm aware, if you follow the advice of the team, every person will have made money so far based on the trades that they've been showing. I'm in the journey as well. I've got no trading experience, but the link is in the top of the description. You can come and join me and the rest of the guys who are already in there. Today we're going to talk Joao Felix, we're going to talk Christopher Nkunku, and the contract updates regarding Mason Mount. So make sure you stay tuned to the end so that you do not miss that. But first of all, Mauricio Pochettino does not want Joao Felix at Chelsea. So Felix's loan, it wasn't a cheap one, but the loan is over and he goes back to Atletico Madrid. We found out a couple of days ago from the Atletico president that Pochettino himself has said he doesn't want him at the club. And now Pochettino takes over officially at Chelsea from the 1st of July. But to believe that he doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything between now and the 1st of July makes you a bit of a numbnut. Of course, he's going to be having conversations with the club, with the sporting directors, and even hopefully with some of the players. But this is from Fabrizio Romano. Joao Felix will not stay at Chelsea next season. Pochettino has decided Joao returns to Atleti. We have been informed that Poch does not count for Felix for Chelsea. He will return here. We'll see. We've nothing planned. It's a very nonchalant response from the Atletico president. Of course, it is now the off season, so Joao Felix is currently on holiday somewhere. I didn't decipher where this sign was, but I might guess it could be Spain. I don't know. It might be. You can let me know in the comments if you are more inclined with this road sign than I am to know what it was. Joao Felix not staying at Chelsea. First of all, sentiment here. Going to give the sentimental thoughts behind this, because as much as it wasn't a loan that set the world on fire, we're not talking about a player who came in, scored a ton of goals, got loads of assists, because he was playing in the Chelsea team that was probably the worst of my lifetime. So to expect Felix's loan to be padded out with a load of upper end stats, it's not going to happen. But at the same time, there was something about Joao Felix that we didn't see from many players, particularly in the second half of the season since he joined the club. And that was heart, passion, those unquantifiable, untangible things that quite often get swept under the rug in football. And you guys know, as a football fan, I like to look at the intangibles. I don't want all of the analysis that I do to be based on statistics. However, when it comes to pressing, when it comes to winning the ball back and working hard for the team off the ball, Joao Felix isn't necessarily that player. You don't see him making lung-busting sprints very often. He's a brilliant technician on the ball. When he's got it at his feet, he can make something happen. If we were doing like a Joao Felix bingo, the first one that would be ticked off the card every game would be the classic Felix nutmeg to take on a player, and then maybe taking a couple of too many touches before the right pass or the right shot, which is why the stats don't really prove that he is going to be an elite attacker when it comes to output for Chelsea Football Club. Based on that, plus the fact that Pochettino is looking at Christopher Nkunku, and from what we understand, he could see Nkunku potentially playing as a number 9, which is slightly concerning for me because that isn't his best position. Nkunku works best as a second striker, which is directly competing with a position that Joao Felix would be wanting. I think this is good from Pochettino because with Nkunku already coming through the door, Chelsea don't want to be in the same position at any point next season where there are too many players vying for the same position. And considering Nkunku's work rate is significantly better, not just to the naked eye, but statistically too. Nkunku works harder than Joao Felix and scores more goals and gets more assists. So with that being said, as much as sentimentally, I really liked Felix. I thought he showed a lot of heart. It looked as though he was enjoying himself in London, enjoying being a Chelsea player, which by the end of the season was, as fans, what we wanted to see and what we got excited about the most, which just shows how bad Chelsea's season was when we're not talking about about players who are scoring loads of goals, helping us lift trophies and winning football matches. We're talking about the positives. The players we liked the most in the second half of the season were the ones that seemed to care and wanted to play. But unfortunately, it's a ruthless business. And Pochettino's job when he comes in this summer is to be absolutely rigorous and ruthless with the way that he cuts players out. Because before Chelsea starts signing loads of new players again, we've not only financially got to sell, but in order to change the mentality within this group of players, there needs to be significantly less, and we need to see a style where every player in the squad knows that when he comes in, it's to do A role, potentially B role. But at the moment this season, you've seen Ruben Loftus-Cheek playing almost every position apart from a goalkeeper. So when players are coming in, tactically, they're not sharp enough in their awareness to know what the role is and what their part within the strategy is going to be. So for Pochettino, as much as maybe I could have seen a reason why Felix would stay if there was going to be a second loan, which I think would have been good, but at the same time, this ruthless nature of Pochettino, even though he's technically not started his job yet, coming in and saying, I don't need this guy because I've got Nkunku, that is exactly what we need. We need a ruthless manager who knows what he wants and is getting all of these decisions done before pre-season even kicks off, before his job even technically starts. So, Christopher Nkunku, we are still waiting for the official announcement from Chelsea Football Club that Christopher Nkunku is a Chelsea player. But from what I understand, this is a done deal, was a done deal. Medicals were done back in September, and then agreements were made and then medicals done in September. But in 2022, Nkunku was going to become a Chelsea player for the start of this upcoming season. So, with Nkunku coming through the door, very exciting. I don't know if he's going to be allowed to do the bubblegum celebration in the Premier League, but I'd love to see it. And I do think whether it is as a striker, if Chelsea aren't forced to rush and just buy any number 9, I like this as well from Pochettino, where Nkunku can play that role. So he doesn't want Chelsea to be buying a striker for significantly more money than the striker is worth, or there's got to be an understanding too that top elite level number 9s are a commodity in football that is going out of fashion. There isn't many of them left. So Chelsea need to be very careful and smart, as we have to be with Mason Mount. So, from an anonymous source in recent days, the updates are that Mount was close to an agreement with Chelsea Football Club just before the World Cup. One of the sticking points as to why he didn't sign that agreement was a bit of a headbutt with the owners regarding his image rights, which with every single player's contract in the modern developing football world, the way that a player's image rights are used is a massive reason as to why a contract may not be favourable to a player. And in Mount's case, it's always been known that if the correct contract was put on the table, he wanted to stay at Chelsea. It's his club. He's been here all his life and he wants to stay. However, if these things don't get ironed out, when you've got teams like Manchester United, who will probably offer significantly more money than Chelsea have reportedly offered, you've got clubs like Liverpool who have been showing so much interest in Mount. You've got two clubs there. Liverpool have been successful recently. Manchester United are building something under Eric Ten Hag. Mount's going to be looking, and all of these issues that have happened with Chelsea, I think what it's been is Todd Boehly is probably looking at all of these new players who have signed and committed to long-term deals, and he's thinking, well, if these guys are committing to a long-term deal and Mount doesn't want to commit to a long-term deal, we'll just get rid of him and make some money off of him because it's pure profit for the football club, and whoever comes in will probably want to sign a long-term deal because that's the way that these guys have been doing business. My biggest issue with this is that not only is Mason Mount a quality footballer who has won our player of the season, has been absolutely pivotal in Chelsea lifting 3 different European trophies. I think in order for this to go the right way, the only thing I'd be happy with is if he signs a new deal. And Pochettino, I think, is the only straw left in the hat to be able to make this happen. I don't think that's actually a phrase that works, but I really want Mount to stay. And if Pochettino wants him, before the 1st of July, he's going to have to get on the buzzer. He's going to have to ask someone at the club, give me big M&M's number, please, because I'm going to call him up, tell him just how important he could be to these plans. And I think the reason I've tied that in today with the story about Joao Felix is that Mason Mount, again, as much as he's not like Nkunku, he's not definitively a second striker. That is potentially a position under Pochettino that Mount could also be playing for. So I think with Felix not staying, I think there is an element of that could have Mount at the forefront of Pochettino's mind, where if we don't extend Felix and Mount decides he wants to go, Chelsea will sell. Chelsea will sell Mount if a 70 million offer comes in. He's got 1 more year left on his deal, and he's not going to sign a new contract if Chelsea do not put one on the table. This is the key sticking point. Before the World Cup, there was an offer on the table. There were still things that needed to be done. Since then, communication's been dry. The offer isn't on the table. And even if it isn't one that Mount is happy to sign because of the image rights, which is a massive thing. And at a club like Chelsea, where commercially we are such a massive entity, our sponsorship deals are huge. What you got to remember is footballers, they've got their deals within the club, but as individuals, there's also a lot of important things to be discussed. And Mount is one of those marketable players where the commercial value of the player is massive. And this contract he's got now as a 24-year-old is probably the biggest one of his career. So I can totally understand why he's not signed it. I just really hope he does, because I think Chelsea need to also keep hold of your Mounts, your Reece Jameses. These guys are so essential to Chelsea's identity, and I think as much as I know Pochettino is going to be able to get into these players, install a better mentality than at least we've seen this season, there does need to be an element of these players who have been here all of their careers. I think it's such an essential thing for Chelsea to keep hold of these players, and it's not just the ones that have already established themselves in the first team. It's your Lewis Hall, it's your Armando Broyers, it's these players that need to have a place in this squad, because if they don't, what happens to the academy? All of the academy players, the moment they get to a level where they can compete at a high level, they're out the door. They're not staying at Chelsea. We've seen it already. Tino Livramento's gone. Tariq Lamptey's gone. Mark Gurhey's gone. These are the kind of players who Chelsea want to keep. And it means a lot to the fans to see academy players going through. It doesn't mean that they're absolutely guaranteed to be starters. They're guaranteed to be squad places. If they're not good enough, Chelsea needs to be competing for trophies. But Mason Mount is good enough. More than good enough. And at the same time, if he leaves, it will only be to a Premier League club. And whoever he signs for, Chelsea are already 11 places off the top. We are going to be improving massively a rival that we want to be competing with. And if Mount goes to them, he'll sign a 5-year deal. And for the next 5 years, whatever club that might be, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, whatever, that club have got a potentially elite midfielder for many years to come. So I hope we can figure this one out. And Pochettino is the final person to be able to have a say to swing this in the favour of Mount staying. Anyway, that wraps up video number 1 for the day. As I said at the beginning, Telegram link top of the description. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the like button if you do enjoy the news, and stay tuned because there'll be another one firing your way a little later. Come on, you